Meanwhile, sounding an alarm over the current COVID situation in the country, the top court has now made certain observations asking about the ground level preparedness of various states, given the fact that the numbers are on the rise. And the Supreme Court has asked all states to file a status report on how they are planning to deal with the current situation amid changed weather conditions and laxity of adhering to COVID norms. Certain states like Maharashtra and Haryana are considering another lockdown. Delhi continues to remain the worst affected. Delhi government has allowed MBBS students now to help COVID wards. Night curfews also being considered in parts of Gujarat and already, in fact, being imposed in parts of Gujarat and Rajasthan. So those are the various steps that are being taken by states that are trying to grapple with the current situation. The top court has expressed grave concern over this emerging COVID crisis in many states. All states have been asked to file a status report on its current COVID preparedness level. And the top court has also observed that if states are not well prepared, the situation will get far worse in December. So those are the observations made. My colleague Tanima is tracking the story very closely to give us an idea of where exactly are the areas of concern and what respective states are doing in this regard. Tanima, over to you to give us an understanding of what the top court has said first in terms of expressing its concerns and, of course, then the areas where the states, in fact, the decisions that are being now under consideration.
That's right, Afrida. In fact, the Supreme Court was hearing a ongoing matter, in fact, about handling of COVID patients in different hospitals. And with regard to that, it actually talked about how there's been a massive spike in COVID cases across several states, specifically noting on the fact that if states aren't well prepared, worse things may happen by December. In fact, the Supreme Court talked about how there should be a latest status report from all states that is handed over to the Apex Court as soon as possible, because the court wanted to take an estimate of where exactly do hospitals in different states stand, where exactly do state governments stand in terms of preparedness with dealing with the COVID spike. So essentially, as you can see, that this court over here, observation from the Supreme Court on hearing of a huge spike in November, and they want a status report from all states. Now, this is with regard to what the Supreme Court had to say about all states, but specifically on Delhi, on the national capital situation, the top court actually said that over the past 2 weeks, the COVID status in Delhi has actually worsened, and also asked several questions as to how exactly is the Delhi government dealing with the rise in number of patients that hospitals are seeing. How exactly are there enough beds in terms of the Delhi government being able to manage the inflow of cases that they're getting, number of deaths also being reported the most from the national capital. So there are huge concerns still around Delhi. We have seen the Delhi government actually talking about the fact that they have added more beds, center also taking very proactive measures in terms of adding more staff as well as beds, and also increasing testing, RT-PCR testing especially in Delhi. So several measures have been taken, but nonetheless the Supreme Court over here expressing particular concern about Delhi, and the Solicitor General also, who was present in court during this hearing representing the centre, also saying that he felt that Delhi should also be doing more. So clearly focus on the national capital, but nonetheless Supreme Court taking cognizance of the huge spike across all states.
Yes, absolutely. And in terms of other states, of course, the tendency is always to focus more on the national capital. But let's not forget that there are big contributors from states like Maharashtra, Haryana, Gujarat as well, and some stringent action being considered by the respective state governments as well.
That's right. In fact, what we have also been seeing is that over the past couple of days, there has been a breakneck action, in fact, which has been taken by several states in terms of bringing back certain curbs and regulations which they wanted in certain areas. So in Maharashtra, what you can see is that in terms of bringing lockdown measures, Maharashtra is considering mulling over the next 7 to 8 days, 8 to 10 days rather, after which a decision will be taken on whether more stringent measures need to be brought in. Also, Haryana, the health minister essentially saying that they can reimpose lockdown because only 2 measures are left to be taken. Either you take more stronger action, or you reimpose lockdown. So these are some of the things that we can see these two states have done. Also, Frida, just to give a perspective to our viewers, what has been the caseload in some of these states that we are looking at? Because remember that the center is rushing its teams to some of these states, but if we can bring that graphics up also in terms of what are some of the caseloads that we can see in different states, the kind of spike that we are seeing in Punjab, the kind of spike that we are seeing in Uttar Pradesh. If we can pull that graphics up, that will also actually to show us the kind of spike that some of these states are looking at. Because remember that in a state like Gujarat, there has been, rather Rajasthan, there has been a breach of 3,000 daily cases after a long time. So, of course, once again, Delhi remains the main focus. If you can go back to that graphics, Delhi, of course, remains the main focus, where the number of cases, of course, over 44,458 cases which have been recorded in just a week. So, highest number of deaths, once again, 777 deaths in just 7 days. If you go into the following points, you can see Rajasthan has recorded nearly 15,000 cases in about a week's time as well. Punjab also, if we look at Gujarat first, 7,607 cases in a week's time. And also the other states being that of Punjab, nearly 4,000 cases in a week's time as well. So these are all the states in which the center has rushed its teams. They're taking specific measures to show. We also got a data short while back where the health ministry is saying that over the past 24 hours, it's just 10 states and union territories from which around 75% of the COVID caseload is coming from. And the maximum deaths, of course, are coming from Delhi in that 24-hour period. So these are some of the states and the spike which we have seen over the past 1 week, which has led to the states bringing back stringent measures.
Yes, that's an important information, Tanima, that you shared with us, that top 10 states, the worst affected, are contributing 75% of the total number. So these should be the focus areas. The respective governments must really now pull up their socks to understand what can be done before things get even worse. Thanks for joining us with your information and data.